Okay, so in this video, we're working on our sub comments just like YouTube has. So what we wanted, we have our initial comment. That we already set up. But we want to be able to reply to these root level comments, I guess you could call them. So we want something to pop up when we click reply. But we only want one. We don't want to have a bunch of these open all over the place. So we want it to only be one. We can cancel it. And it only shows up in one spot at a time. And this is a reply to a posted comment. And we click reply, and then that pops up where it's supposed to be. And that does not have a reply button. It just has likes and dislikes. So that's what we're going to be setting up. One thing I do recommend, like I've mentioned before, is to dump your entire MLab database and start it from scratch when you change around stuff. So one thing we are changing around is I'm not going to relate. There used to be, in our user model, there used to be a comments that was an array of object IDs that referenced comment. I deleted that. And you want to go into your user schema and delete comments from your user schema as well. And in our video, or rather our comments, when we save that, when we create that initial comment, we only need to update the video model. We no longer need the two filters and the two updates. We're just updating the video. So you can delete all the stuff that had to do with updating, find one and update the user model. We're going to have a new mutation that's creating the subdocument. Basically set up the exact same way, except we added to our comment model, we've added subcomments, and that's an array of object IDs that references comment. You can set up, it can totally reference itself, totally legit. So you just say new comment is a new models.comment, save it, but then push that and update comment. So you just push that saved ID into the comment, and of course that comment comes from this comment ID that we're taking in. So instead of a video, we're taking in a comment ID, and the comment is associated, the subcomment's associated with the comment, not the video. So in our video component, once again, we create another mutation, create subcomment, takes in text, a reply, and a comment ID. It returns a comment. We didn't even look at that, did we? So we'll look at that real quick. In our schema for comment, right here, create subcomment, text, reply, comment ID, returns a comment. And we add subcomments as an array of comments to our comment schema. And make sure you add it to our list here. In our compose, we create subcomment is our create subcomment mutation, just like we set up before. And in our comments, our huge query, we already were getting the posted by, but now we're also getting subcomments and that posted by. So the way you set that up in our resolver, we were populating owner, comments, and we were populating posted by. So now this populate becomes an array, and the first path is the posted by that references the user model, and then we populate subcomments, and that references the model, and then Off that, we populate again, and this time we populate posted by with the user model. So you can chain together these populates as deep as you want to go. Pretty cool. Now we're referencing the user model 3 different times. So it goes video, user, comment, user, comment, user. So we're referencing models from all over the place, documents from all over the place inside our database. But that returns all this information that we want. I also added the comment ID here. We want the ID of the comment. That's important. So we create a new piece of state. All this stuff is new. We create a subcomment. That's a string, new piece of state. We create a handle subcomment text to update that. This visible input is going to be an integer, but we'll start it as null. Handle replies for that reply button. Reset the subcomment, very similar to reset comment. And create new subcomment, very similar to create new comment. And we implemented all these things in here. Our create subcomment is going to take in that comment ID as a parameter, and reply is going to be false. Video ID is found in the same way, except it's not a variable here in our mutation. It is just a variable for our refetch query. So we just refetch that original query. The comment ID that gets taken in is the variable. Handle reply takes in an integer, and it sets that visible input to an integer and resets the subcomment as well. That reset subcomment makes the visible input null, and the subcomment gets reset. And you can see here, subcomment, empty string, visible input null. So in our video main, make sure we bring all those new bits in down here as props. And we were already mapping over the comment. But now we're calling on this reply button. We're sending in that index. Remember how we mapped over? We had an index. So we're on the click of this. This is the reply button. So it's going to call a function that calls handle reply with that index. Set it up like this with a function instead of just handle reply. You can't just call, it'll read over and just call that function. You need to make it a function, an anonymous function that calls that function. Just how it works. So right here, this is the input field. This is the whole input field setup right here. Basically, when you click that reply, this is all that. And we control that by that state, that visible input integer. If it equals the index, all this appears. So we started with null, so you don't see this input. And then when this function gets called, it sends in that index to handle reply. And handle reply takes that index and sets the state to that integer. So we're getting the integer, plus we already know I from this map. So if the two match, and it only matches when we click that button, then we get to see the input. And this input is what controls that subcomment text. So it's a pretty nifty little system. So we can only see one at a time. We're just changing the state of that integer, and that integer is matching up with the, because we index, as we mapped over all these comments, we know which one it is because of that integer and the index. And we just match it up in a little crafty style. And in the next video, we'll go over the actual mutation and what all this stuff is doing.